Okay, it's time to start coding. You're watching this because you want to learn how to code. You probably haven't done it before. You might be a little bit nervous. You might be excited. Who knows? But my name's Paul. I'm going to take you through the basics of how to code. And I'm not going to try and be cool or, like show that I know everything. I don't know everything, but I know how to code. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through from the beginning what you need to know. And, we're not going to skip any steps, no tricks, nothing, just let's get this done. So if you're coding for the first time, you probably don't have the right tools to get the job done. You might have Windows, Office, Word, and all that great stuff, but that's not what we want exactly for coding. The thing we want for coding is a program called a code editor where you can specifically write code and it's going to be formatted beautifully. It's going to help you know if you've made any mistakes and things like that. So if you haven't installed one before, then let's install one. Everyone has their favorite one, and my particular favorite is called Visual Studio Code. There we go, Visual Studio Code. There's so many out there, you don't have to install this one, but this is the one that I like. It's available for Windows and Mac, and because it's Microsoft, you kind of know how it's going to work. It's going to, be pretty easy to use. So if you go to their website, which is code.visualstudio.com, then you've got these big blue buttons. They want you to download it, and we want you to download it. So let's click on a button. I'm using a Mac today, so I will click on the download button, and just like everything else on the internet, it's going to show up in the bottom left-hand corner. Let's wait for it to finish, and then once it's finished, it won't do anything, and so I have to click on it to then open it. And it's going to start then extracting the files, and I can just kind of sit here. Now, the good thing about Visual Studio Code is you don't have like a big long workflow where you have to keep clicking next, tell it where to install, that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously Mac helps in this respect, but that's it. I'm done. I hardly did anything, and I've now got my code editor, and I'm ready to code. So I'm not going to do anything else with it for the moment because it's now on my machine. All I'm going to do is open it. So in the same way you just open any application on your computer, I'll just double click it, and it's going to verify that I do actually want to open this because I got it off the internet, so it wants to know if I trust it. And when that comes up in a minute, I will say yes, and I will open it. There we go, that's the one, open. Right, okay, so now that I've opened it, I'm now going into this program, and you might not have seen a code editor before, but they're pretty simple. There's not much to it. You're just writing code, and that's kind of it. So there's plenty of options, lots of icons. You don't need to know what all of them do. I don't even know what these do. You only need to know the stuff that you're going to be working with. And so when it comes to creating HTML files and writing code, you kind of just need to create a file just like you would with a Word document. So what I'm seeing now is kind of the Get Started tab. Now I can close this down if I'm feeling confident, but I'm going to leave it for the moment. I'm just going to click on New File. I could click on File, New. I can do that, or I can click over here and I can kind of choose a folder on my computer and stuff like that. I'm not going to bother about any of that for the moment because I want to just keep this simple. All we want to do is create a file and write code. That's pretty much the first thing we're going to try and do. So I'll click on New File, and you'll notice what it does is opens a second tab, so an untitled file. The Get Started is still there, and I can jump back between the two of them, but I don't really need that anymore. It doesn't really do much. So now I've got my untitled file. So just like with the Word document, you can type stuff in and just write junk and hit enter. And what's great about code editors is they've got numbers, so that if there is kind of a problem in your code, it will say there's a problem on line 2. Or if you're talking to someone about your code, you'll say line 3. And that's just one of the millions of benefits of using a code editor when writing code. Okay, so one thing you'll notice is that I am just writing absolute nonsense. This isn't code. This isn't HTML. This isn't gonna, this isn't gonna show up on the internet. That's not cool at all. So one thing you can do is you can help your code editor know what kind of code you're writing, because although we're doing HTML, at the moment my code editor doesn't know that. I haven't written anything that gives any indication that I'm going to be writing HTML. So my choices are either start writing HTML, but you haven't learned how to do that yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the code editor a helping hand. So if you go down to the bottom right hand corner, now you don't have to do this, but if you go to the bottom right hand corner, it says plain text, because what it's doing at the moment is it says, I don't know what code you're writing, so I'm just going to assume that it's plain text. But if I click on that, I can actually tell it what I'm going to start typing, HTML. So it would have guessed HTML if I started writing HTML, but what I've done now is I've just given it a leg up. I've given it a helping hand, and said that I'm going to start writing HTML. Now, I haven't shown you how to write HTML yet, so we're not going to start coding anything for the moment. All we're going to do is save this file so it's ready to use in the next video, okay? So I'm just going to leave it blank for the moment, and all I'm going to do is, just like you'd expect of a Word, a Microsoft product, I'm just going to save it. So File, Save As, and you can put it anywhere because it's just a file at the end of the day. Now it's a HTML file because I told it was a HTML file, so that's pretty clever. So let's just get rid of Untitled. Now everyone always uses Hello World, don't they? So we're going to use that too because I think that's kind of fun. Hello World.html is now my file, and I'm going to put it on the desktop because I kind of like everything on the desktop. Not everything, I just mean for videos. And in terms of format, we'll just give it another helping hand until it's HTML file, right? And I'll click save. So now it's called Hello World, and it tells me where I've put it, and that's kind of it. I've now created a HTML file. It's got nothing in it, but I used my code editor to create a HTML file. Now, the final thing I'll show you in this video is when you're writing code, the whole point of it is that you want something to display on the internet and in a browser. So what you do, and this is why code's kind of cool, if I just go and find that file wherever it is, so for me it's on my desktop, so if I go on my desktop, there's my file, it's called helloworld.html. Now if I double click on this file, it's going to kind of open the file, it's going to run it. Now HTML files are run in a browser. You might think that if I double click on this, it's going to open up in the code editor, but that's not quite right. A HTML file is, what it wants to do is be opened on the internet. So if I double click it, what it does is it opens the file on the internet or in your browser. And so what you'll notice is, look at the URL. It doesn't say like www.google.com. It tells you the file path. So that's where it's currently located. It's located on me. I'm Paul Brooks. Hello. On my desktop, and it's called Hello World. But there's nothing in it. It's just a blank file. But that's how it works. You create the file and then you view it in the browser, and that's what we're going to be doing in the next video.